Write that down, Fumi Saito. Write that down, Fumi Saito.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to Write That Down. I'm Justin Knipper. I edit at fightgamemedia.com, and I'm a staff writer at wrestlingobserver.com and f4wonline.com. And I am somewhat back with Japan's leading pro wrestling historian and author and broadcast journalist and wrestling sociologist, Mr. Fumi Saito. I say somewhat because actually this week's Fumi was super busy with a lot of various projects. So we had to delay the recording of our Rikki Choshi Part 3 episode a bit, but that's coming next week, so don't worry. Apologies in advance, but in lieu of that, what I present to you is a supercut special edition of our profile on Jumbo Tsuruta we did last summer. So you're getting 2+ hours of all things Jumbo Tsuruta, from when he was in the Olympics to his passing, which was actually this month. It was the anniversary of his passing, and there was recently a memorial show at Korakuen Hall in Tokyo. I think it was about 2 weeks ago, to celebrate his life, and so why not do that today? In place of Rikki Choshi Part 3, which we'll get to next week. And thanks for all the feedback on the Rikki Choshi episode, both episodes. It's been surprisingly not just positive, but enthusiastic too, and that makes me happy because I'm enthusiastic about both Choshu and Jumbo. And there's, some overlap in their careers, especially in the mid-'80s, so I hope you guys like this supercut edition of All Japan's Jumbo Tsuruta, okay? Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Fight Game Media Network podcast, the free feed on Spotify or Apple or wherever you usually listen to your podcasts, because it helps us out so much. Thank you in advance for that. Also, I have a book out on Amazon, Stronger Than All. It is a digital match guide to every single New Japan Strong match for the first 2 years of the show. Okay, check that out if you'd like. All right, onwards. Let's get into Jumbo Tsuruta Part 1.
Write that down, Fumi Saito. Write that down, Fumi Saito. Write that.
Okay, hey patrons, welcome back. It's Write That Down. I'm Justin Knipper of Fight Game Media and WrestlingObserver.com, and I'm here with the one, the only, Mr. Fumi Saito. Welcome back.
Hello from Tokyo.
So, Olympics finally finished. It's Obon.
Yeah, it was the craziest thing. Yeah. Well, if we talked about this, if we are to talk about this Tokyo Olympic, we can sit here all night long.
We could do a whole different episode about
it. Yeah, because it's the craziest thing in the middle of COVID pandemic. It's the craziest idea, and I was against it, and I wanted to boycott it, and I even attended the protest. Our neighborhood had this big protest to stop the Olympic thing, and it was never reported on news or anything like that. But this crazy idea to actually have Olympic in the middle of pandemic. It would be a major spreader, and sure enough, it's like the numbers going up again,
It's crazy. I heard over 4,000 on one day this week.
A day, every day.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't even above a few hundred last year.
Right. Now
this
it's
time, summer.
5,000 new cases a day, every day, just in Tokyo.
It's no good. No good.
Oh, God. Yeah, and also, there are not enough bed, let alone enough doctor and hospital staff to take care of that. And then you get sick and call ambulance. The ambulance cannot take you to any hospital. It's like, no, not this hospital, not this place, not this place. Being on ambulance, you get sicker too. Oh my God.
So I'm happy that you told me you are vaccinated. So
yes,
healthy,
this week,
safe,
healthy. Yeah. Yeah.
I read that all of the New Japan office was fully vaccinated. They put out a press release saying that they are all vaccinated, and
they're so professional that they take temperature of every single spectators, and you have to put down your email address on back of your ticket and give it to the company. So anything happens that they get trace you down and where you are, what time, and all these things. Yes.
And actually, the night we're recording this, tomorrow night, New Japan's going to be in Los Angeles at the Torch.
Right.
Yep.
Mhm.
That'll be on Fight TV. The English is going to be on Fight TV, but it'll be in Japanese on New Japan World. But yeah, it seems like a lot of people are excited about it. Lots of
And also,
AEW
it's
Impact
like
stars.
New Japan is finally forming an American branch.
Feels that way. Yeah, it feels
Yeah,
more
yeah.
established. New Japan of
Mhm.
America.
Yeah, with their own crew and American wrestlers going back and forth, and also sending one or two Japanese wrestlers to the LA branch. And yeah, it looks like they have their little territory going in California right now.
Yeah, and the New Japan Strong Show, they have its own flavor. They have its own flavor. It's kind of like it's
Mhm.
different from the general New Japan. You know, New Japan at Korakuen Hall has a different flavor from the New Japan Strong Show on Fridays. It has its own style.
It's strong, and also the New Japan wrestlers of America. It's
Right.
trained by Shibata, and that's gonna be just a year or two from now. Now they probably have that whole the whole pack of group of American wrestlers who were trained on the New Japan method.
Mm.
Yeah, very, very, very interesting. And those wrestlers, much like NXT, are going to main roster. They will be sent to Japanese ring too. Like,
Right.
New Japan raised rookies, American rookies, coming to Japan and working in main roster. That's very exciting. Yeah.
I think so, especially the recent crop of fellows, the Carl Fredericks and the Clark Connors. And Alex
They're like a
Cohen.
really good athlete. Just
Yeah.
need experience. That's all. And also, they're not, like independent guy who wanted to go to WWE or AEW. It's like they were trained and debuted in New Japan, the environment. So they will be under New Japan, under New Japan Big Rough, Big Rough.
I gotta say, I got a chance.
Marquee, I should say.
Yeah, they feel like superstars for sure at such a young age already. And I gotta say, I got a chance 2 years ago to attend the Super J Cup that was in Tacoma, Washington.
Okay.
And those guys were wrestling there too on the undercard, and I got a chance to meet and talk with them. And I have to say, I don't usually experience this. Wrestlers are fine or whatever, but these guys particularly were extremely polite, almost like in the Japanese way, at least to me. And I gotta say, I gotta always root for Alex Colin because actually we went to the same university in New York, SUNY New Paltz. Go Hawks! I think he played rugby there, or did something like that. But that's where I got my degree. Yeah, Go Hawks! But they were good.
Also,
they're very good.
None of these American New Japan wrestlers are ex WWE or ex AWE guys, or not even have the independent experience outside of this New Japan environment. So it'll be very, very interesting, like a very genuine New Japan guy. Just happened to be American. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the rest of the year and maybe next year. Hopefully, when things clear up, I want to see some of the New Japan of America guys over in Japan for some bigger matches with the other fellows who just kind of graduated, like Yota Tsuji, Yuya Uemura. Like they're kind of all moving up to the regular roster.
And they will be wearing a different costume and a different hairdo, and you could become like the graduated into your star status.
Like Great Okan or Master Wato recently.
Yeah, right. Come back as a different person completely.
Shota Umino will probably do that too.
Oh, Umino will be IWGP champion within 3 years or so, right?
Wow.
I'm hoping. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Oh, look what happened to Jay White. People did not expect that for him to, to grow up that fast.
That's true.
Yeah.
That seemed really kind of out of nowhere rush, but it's still, the plan is in place.
Then there are guys like Dave Finlay and Juice Robinson, who have different experience, and they're veterans now. So, yeah.
And one good point for New Japan, it's great to have someone like Juice Robinson be on the American show and work for places like Impact because, hey, it fits right in a different way. Although I got to give Juice Robinson credit, he has really changed his style up since he arrived. He does feel like, he feels like he gets what's going on in the New Japan ring and that style, but he still stays. He doesn't just copy what they're doing. He's adapting and doing his own take on
American, and he's becoming his own. Yeah.
Yeah, but not in a forced or bad or cheesy way, in a natural way.
Because he has this star aura to begin with.
He's charismatic.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so. Okay, well, today we are doing Jumbo Tsuruta.
That's right. So this is the next in our series showcases on legends from back in the day. And last time we focused on Genichiro Tenryu, and this time he's kind of a parallel character to Tenryu. He came from sumo, whereas Jumbo came from the amateur wrestling world.
Yes, that too. But let's start that. He went to Munich Olympic in 1972. Only having 2 years of experience in amateur wrestling. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Well, because he played basketball all through junior high and high school, and he did not. And he was the varsity team in Chuo University as a basketball player, and he realized when he was in senior year, like 1972 was his college senior year. He realized, he would not be able to go to Olympic if he played basketball, but he was a big guy, and he just kind of decided if he took on amateur wrestling, he might be able to go to Olympic when he's a senior in college, which exactly what he did. What a elite athlete, he did not start amateur wrestling until he was like 20.
So
did you know that? Yeah.
No, I mean, so what was the rest of the wrestling team? Were they a strong team in Japan?
Only one guy can go to Olympic in each weight division. He was heavyweight.
Okay, so
so he aimed it. He and then he succeeded. Yeah,
in a short time. So he's kind of a special person. We can tell from the beginning.
Oh, special athlete. Yeah, special
like athlete. A Kurt Angle-ish sort of. He can kind of do any sort of.
Okay, how many Japanese do you know who is 6 feet 6 inches and 260 pounds naturally?
Not many.
He's like a Bruiser Brody size. Yeah, and he's a big Japanese guy, right? And then he won all the domestic national tournament. He won in the national championship, and he was able to come to Olympic. I mean, as he planned all along. So he is very smart, individual that his goal was to go to Olympic when he was senior in college. Then he aimed it, and then he switched his sport from basketball to amateur wrestling when he was rather older as an athlete, 19-year-old or 20 years old. Then only just after two years or so training, he beat everybody and then went to Olympic. Yeah.
He was, did he feel like he had a challenge? Did he feel after the Olympics, what happened after he came out of the Munich Olympics? Did he jump right into pro wrestling from there?
Yeah, I spoke with him back in 1984 when he traveled to Minnesota and he was touring as an AW world champion, right? We'll get to that. But he told me that he wanted to be a professional wrestler when he was 6th grade. He decided it.
Wow.
6th grade.
So
when I grow up, it's like when I grow up, I will become professional wrestler. All right, that's that's what he did exactly. So he could plan out things, and he conquered all the plans.
Yeah, he seemed like anything he seemed to focus on, he would be one of the best in, the elite in.
Super athlete he was. Yeah. Yeah.
And like you said, he had a build that was very unlike most other people or other men in Japan.
Yeah. Then during summer holiday, during the summer, not a vacation, but school's off, right? In June and July and August, he was sent to sumo bear when he was like 8th grade, and he didn't like it, because he was big guy, and then he grew up in Yamanashi, and his hometown, his house, his home was grape and pear farm. His parents was doing the vegetables and fruits. And I guess first goal was to get out of his hometown and come to a big city and become college student. Yeah, and Chuo University is a very good school too. And he was a basketball player, standout basketball player. He was already 6 feet something, like 190 centimeters when he was like 17. and he grew even bigger, and he wanted to be a professional wrestler when he was 6th grade. Then he wanted to become, to go into Olympic, and he switched his sport after he going to college. Then in 2 years' time, he was able to go to Munich Olympic. He didn't win the gold medal or anything like that, but he was able to become Olympian. So he set his goal, and he just gets it.
So he comes back from Germany.
Yeah.
And what's his next move from there? Like,
actually, there was a big battle between New Japan, Antonio Inoki, and Giant Baba's Old Japan. Both company wanted a Jumbo. Tomomi Tsuruta.
Okay.
Yeah, and New Japan Inoki almost got him, but the Giant Baba, went to his Tomomi Tsuruta's parents' house. Giant Baba himself, went to visit him. I want his, your son to come to my company. And then apparently Inoki people didn't do so. And Giant Baba himself went to Jumbo's hometown and met with his parents and how serious about his plan and all these things. And Mr. and Mrs. Tsuda, I guess, trusted Baba. And yeah, right out of college, he went into All Japan Pro Wrestling, 1972, at the end of 1972. Yeah.
So that sounds sort of like what happens in the States and in North America when a university goes to scout and recruit an athlete for their school.
Yeah, and then normally if you were a baseball player or football player, he would be drafted, huh?
Sure.
Yeah, but for
do you think he could? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you think he could be? Is Jumbo the type of person who would have been a star athlete in any of the sports he chose?
But not exactly baseball player type or football player type. There's no American Football League. I mean, we have it, but they're not strong. But the baseball, you start. I mean, basically, all these baseball players in Japan, they all start in a little league or something, and then they would be playing baseball all their lives, right?
Yeah.
Same as soccer player, football player. I mean, soccer player. And Jumbo's different. He was a big, tall guy, super athlete, playing basketball, and got the basketball scholarship and went to college, and he switched his sport to amateur wrestling just so he could go to Olympic, which that's exactly what he did. And he wanted to become professional wrestler, so he became professional wrestler. So it's like he never did wrong,
And when he started to train for pro wrestling, did he spend much time in the United States?
Yeah. It was one of these methods that he was trained a little bit in Japan, All Japan dojo, but he was sent to Amarillo, Texas pretty much right away before his debut in Japan. Much, just the same method that Baba took on Tenryu, after sumo wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
He trained, a few months in Japan, but he was sent to Amarillo, Texas, right? The same way. Jumbo did that first. Spring of 1973, he was sent to Amarillo, Texas to train under Terry Funk and Dory Funk Sr. And we covered that a little bit, with Tenryu's episode. But young Stan Hansen and young Bob Backlund was there when he went to Amarillo, Texas. So all of them became like the biggest star of their own era, right?
In their own ways too, in different ways.
Yeah, in different way. Yeah, right. Stan Hansen and Bob Backlund went to New York and became WWF champion. Jumbo came back to Japan, and pretty much from the day one, he was in the main event group. Never worked opening match. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you would think in Japan you would start your wrestlers or anybody in the professional world that you would start from the bottom, like a Japanese. Like very Japanese, like, your hierarchy kind of thing. But he was treated as elite, that he was put in the main event status right away. His first rookie year. Yeah. He spent about 8 months in Amarillo, Texas. He already challenged Dory Funk Jr., NWA World Heavyweight Champion at the time. He already challenged the heavyweight title in his rookie year, So it was like, oh my gosh, right? Then the first tour back I believe it was October of 1973. His main event, very first main event was Giant Baba Tomomi Tsuruta, not even Jumbo yet. But the following tour, he took on the name Jumbo Tsuruta. Giant Baba and Jumbo Tsuruta, the matches, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Tsuruta, Jumbo Tsuruta and Giant Baba challenged Dory and Terry's international tag team titles, October 73. So he came back as Golden Rookie and already challenged the top tag team titles. Yeah. In his rookie year, I should add.
So he was looked at as almost, an equal or almost number 2 to Giant Baba.
Yeah, it was some to do with the timing too, because in 1972, Giant Baba left old JWA, that the original Rikidozan's Nippon Pro Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And Giant Baba started his first company, which is the only company, but All Japan Pro Wrestling. And he took Tsuruta as his very first Golden Rookie. And Giant Baba did not want his new company to look like the old company. He
Right.
left the company and he left a lot of guys, and then when Baba started All Japan in 1972, they only had maybe 5 Japanese wrestlers. Yeah, altogether. And then you already had, the Funks, the Dick Bayer Destroyer, the Abdul the Butcher, sometimes Bruno Sammartino, all these name American talent, come in. So they had enough guys, but they needed Golden Rookie and who is fresh and new that people haven't seen. So yeah, the Jumbo Tsuruta was perfect, just wrestler for the spot. And he's talented enough. It's a more of the beginning was kind of a mixed bag kind of feeling, because how could this rookie guy be main eventing in Japanese mentality, right?
Mm.
But he was on television right away, and Baba put him in the main event cluster right away. But he was talented enough to do so, and he was on television every week by the end of 1973, established.
Mm. And he probably had some credibility from the Olympics too.
Yeah. What's funny though, that didn't make him very popular wrestler, because it at the time it looks like he was somebody who was handed everything on silver platter. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So does that mean that he had some fans didn't like him so much?
He wasn't popular, as much as you would think. In the back of their mind, it's like, this guy's a rookie, or is talented, all right, but this guy's a rookie and being on TV every week, and Giant Baba and Jumbo Tsuruta, it's all designed to be top, right? And yeah, he was talented enough, but somewhat older fans somewhat resented, the fact that this guy's a rookie. He should be in an opening match. There's some mentalities there, right? You would understand how Japanese would think.
It seems like some people want to challenge Jumbo, say, "Hey, do you really deserve your spot in the hierarchy?"
Yeah, right.
Because you just came out of nowhere.
And but kinda, yeah. But the former Olympian helped, of course. But is he as good as any other so-called superstars at the time? And he had to, I guess, keep proving that, And starting in 1974, he was very much that in the main event right away. See, in his rookie year and second year, he had challenged Dory Funk Jr. for NWA heavyweight title, right? World heavyweight title. He challenged Jack Briscoe then he had challenged Terry Funk following year, another NWA champion, and challenged Harley Race the following year. So he had challenged every single NWA World Heavyweight Champions in Japan. That will put you in a very convincing main event spot, don't you think?
Do you find that Jumbo, compared with other Japanese pro wrestlers at the time, was maybe to fans more believable as a wrestler against foreign wrestlers because of his size and maybe his credentials?
Yeah, what was so strange almost, in hindsight, was that he was already good worker. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I mean, nothing rookiness. I mean, when he came back after 8 months experience in Amarillo, Texas, he works like a veteran already. He
He
actually
worked like an American wrestler, sort of.
yeah, he worked exactly like Dory Funk and Terry Funk. That's what I'm saying. He came back with the 4 different suplexes, double underhook suplex, the belly to belly front suplex, we have it, and the side suplex, and very high bridging German suplex. 4 suplex, perfect. And this everything he did was so perfect. That's that was exactly what made him not very popular. You know what I'm saying?
He's too perfect.
I guess, yeah, yeah. That was a real long battle that he had to face because he was already so good and far ahead of everybody else that technically he was already one of the top in Japan, and that doesn't necessarily make you a popular person. How's that?
Mm.
Yeah, that was very strange because he was not all that popular in his 5 year, very first 5 years of his career. He was already good though. It was really, really good. The roster they had, look at this 70s All Japan roster that Baba on top, right? And then the clear number 2 right away, Jumbo. Then all the name American talent that come to All Japan, that the tour after tour after tour. And he had this pretty even up matchup with all these superstars from America, then like I was like, I was a little kid, still, might be in 7th grade, 8th grade or something, and watch All Japan Pro Wrestling every Saturday night. Jumbo is kind of a new character in that show, but this guy comes onto TV and does have like perfect match in my eye, and yeah. But didn't make me a big Jumbo fan either, It just was strange, when you look back. Yeah. Because Inoki's Friday night television was always like Inoki theater, right? Inoki bringing some, famous American wrestler, superstars, then Inoki beat him, And all year long, the Giant Baba's All Japan Pro Wrestling, you had Abdul the Butcher all year long, pretty much. Some dudes Abdul the Butcher against Destroyer, Abdul the Butcher against Baba, Abdul the Butcher against who and so, a tag team or something bloody all year long anyway. That Inoki's television always had Tiger Jeet Singh, the same role, that he's a heel, the biggest heel. But yeah, it felt like I was watching Inoki against Tiger Jeet Singh in some form all year long, And Jumbo didn't really fit into this, bloody battle thing. When you think about it, it's really strange. The TV code was different back in 70s, in primetime television on network channel, they were showing something really bloody. They don't do that now, do they?
Even today, by today's standard, I think some of the Sheik and the Funks and Abdullah, those matches are
very bloody style.
That's right.
At the time, yeah. We talked about Jumbo Tsuruta, but yes, Atsushi Onita was Giant Baba's pretty much not the number one boy, but he was like Baba treated Onita like his son, But he was never a heavyweight superstar. A little bit later on, like in 81, 82, Baba ended up giving Onita their World Junior Heavyweight title and all those things. But Jumbo was treated differently because of size and genuine athletic background, college graduate. Whereas Onita started, and he came to Baba's company when he was age of 15, barely finished 9th grade. And this is 2 completely different backgrounds.
Kind of like a polar opposites, very opposite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. They were friends though. They were really friends. Yeah, they were friends. But Onita was somebody who was carrying Baba's back, washing Baba's back in the shower and all these things. That Jumbo never carried anybody's bag or anybody's suitcase or anything like that. He was his own star from the day one.
He skipped the line.
Yeah, but it was not Jumbo's choice.
Correct.
Jumbo's choosing. It was Giant Baba's, method of making somebody a star, like a different method. See, this is hard to compare, but The only person I can come up with was like somebody who was main event from the rookie year, like somebody like Lex Luger.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
You know what I'm saying?
Goldberg or something.
Yeah.
But it's
And
different still.
clumsy, Lex Luger wasn't, an old up, smooth, worker until he worked program with Ric Flair a little bit
Right.
later on. But he was put in the main event position from the day one. That's what I'm saying. And the Jumbo was the same way. He was main eventing his rookie year, and he was already a good worker. And like I said, in his rookie year, second year, third year, he had challenged every single NWA World Heavyweight Champion at the time. Like I said, Dory Funk Jr., the Jack Briscoe, the Harley Race, the Terry Funk. He had challenged every single NWA World Champion all the way to like a Ric Flair era. Yeah. Then finally, he had beaten Nick Bockwinkel in 1984 to become very first Japanese AWA World Heavyweight Champion. He's the only AWA champion. Baba didn't even touch it. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. So
Yeah. Well, at the time that the story was, Giant Baba was the only Japanese wrestler who had ever held NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Okay.
Mhm.
And Jumbo was the only AWA World Champion, the Japanese wrestler. And he actually toured America with that belt. Yeah. That's when I met him, a few times. He used to come to the Japanese restaurant. I was washing dishes. My youth. When I was in college, of course, you wash dishes, right?
Mm.
And I was washing dishes at a Japanese restaurant called Asuka, just like
Asuka.
WWE Asuka. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the Asuka is like a flying bird, right? So
Mm.
it's a kind of generic name. But the restaurant Asuka in downtown Minneapolis, right in front of First Avenue, Princess First Avenue. Yeah.
He did in Japan. It's called arubaito.
Arubaito. Yeah.
That's from German, actually. That's from the German word Arbeit, that work.
For work. Yeah. Yeah. That's the Japanglish. I mean, that the German word that was adapted into Japanese word. Yeah. Arubaito sounds like more like a part-time job for, high school student or college students.
Yeah. Convenience store or restaurant or something that.
Or carry heavy loads, some stuff, or
Sure.
Yeah, or get on the truck and carry something, or delivery or something. Yeah. So I was watching.
I think quite a few wrestlers did that in Japan too before they were pro wrestlers. Like Kota Ibushi comes to mind. I think he was like a trash man or something.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, you gotta find the time to train, and then you leave yourself free, some time to actually connect it with wrestling people, and then you should not be having a full-time job then. And you know what I'm saying? Kind of like being a band.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you got to keep your day job. I was going to college and I was washing dishes at a Japanese restaurant, and the Asuka restaurant, Jumbo used to come in like a couple times a day, a couple times a week, maybe even more, So I was, every time he shows up, I'm gonna pull, stool and then sit right next to him. Kind of rude, but can I talk to you? And then I was able to talk to him hours and hours.
So what was he like?
Oh, very professional. Yeah, very professional and very independent, very private. But he was, spent enough time that I was able to speak to him, like how he wanted to become a professional wrestler. He told me back in 6th grade, he'd already decided that, that he would become a professional wrestler, and how he wanted to go to Olympic in his senior year in college. And the basketball wouldn't do it, so he switched his sport to wrestling. And just over 2 years of training, he was able to win the national tournament. And sure enough, he went to Olympic. Wow, success. And he had no doubt in his mind that Giant Baba in All Japan was his right choice. Yeah.
So
maybe he was one of the very first rookie that Inoki and Baba fought over.
Must be.
Yeah. There was a Rikki Choshi. No, Rikki Choshi.
Or Choshu, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because he was also, he went to Olympic 1972, same Olympic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But for Korea.
Yeah, for Korea. Because, he was born and raised in Japan, but his family always kept Korean passport. Therefore, he was able to represent South Korea as an Olympic team. But he told me he was bullied, you know, and during by the Korean wrestling team because he couldn't speak the language perfectly, you know.
I see.
Yeah, and also the reverse racism almost, like a bully. It's like, well, you're not even Korean, In Japan, he was said, you're not even Japanese. It's very
Really?
historical that we should talk about this, discrimination kind of thing, another topic. But Rikki Choshi, yes, represented South Korea, then went to Munich Olympic, same Olympic Jumbo was in. They fought over Rikki Choshi too, yeah. Mitsuo Yoshida, yeah.
So one question I wanted to ask for you, wasn't it true that when Jumbo was working in the States early on, they didn't call him Jumbo yet, they called him Tommy.
Yeah, Tomomi Tsuruta, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or just for like the American style, Tommy Tsuruta.
Yeah, in Amarillo, Texas, because he didn't have the name Jumbo yet.
Mm.
The name Jumbo name was given to him after he came back. Giant Baba and Jumbo Tsuruta, two big guys.
So he had the AWA title in '84, but he lost it. He would lose it to it was Rick Martel, yeah.
Rick Martel, yeah. By then, I was in ringside photographer.
Rick Martel would go over to All Japan around then too, I believe.
Yeah. And there was a famous, you can call it unification title match. Ric Flair, NWA champion against AWA World champion Rick Martel. They had that in the Sumo Palace. Was that a 86, 87? I have to look back. But there was a AWA champion against NWA champion match. Yes.
And after the big title run with the AWA title, I do recall him and Yoshiaki Yatsu becoming a strong team as well.
Yes, after Rikki Choshi and his guys went back to New Japan in '87, Yoshiaki Yatsu decided not to go back to Inoki's New Japan and stayed with Baba's company and became Olympians because Yatsu went to '76 Montreal Olympic. So two Olympians became babyface tag team. Yeah, Olympians. Yeah, but that's a little bit later phase though, because Jumbo's, we can distinguish his career in two different sets of era that during '70s, Jumbo would be wearing a ring costume, much like your Terry Funk, blue, red, then stars, red ring boots or blue ring boots or yellow ring boots and the multicolor short trunks, red and blue stars on it. Is like a real young babyface look.
Even the hairstyle was different. It was more
little
like
longer, yeah, right, and permed, yeah. And '81, when Baba pretty much stepped down from the main event position and made Jumbo his main guy, that's when he started wearing black trunks and black shoes. Yeah, so it's two different distinguished era. Yeah. And that's when he started using Luthet's backdrop, the belly to back suplex thing as a finish. And the storyline was made that the Luthes came in and taught him how to do the backdrop suplex. And that's when he started using that as his new finish. Up until then, he was using different suplex, Yeah.
Didn't he start using the Thez press as a finish later on too?
Not Thez press, but the backdrop, that's
just the backdrop. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, he did have that Thez press. You're talking about Thez press, like you get the whole body. Yeah, like a Stone Cold Steve Austin did. Yeah, he used that too. Yes, but he was using it in early years too. Yeah, we call it flying body scissors drop.
Flying body scissors drop. See, that's so many of
Japanglish.
Well, in English, sometimes the word, the names are different, or sometimes they're inherited from Japan. Like in English, it's funny. We say hip attack.
Hip attack. Yeah, right. Flying hip attack.
But a lot of people in English don't understand why they say hip. But the word for hip it's kind of different in Japanese. It's like that hip area, the whole ass, hip, thigh. It's more general. So
yeah. Well, some people were translating as a butt bumps too, right? So
but I think butt bump in English is quite accurate. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Asuka likes to use that these days.
And who does that? Asuka. Yeah, Asuka does that. Asuka does that. Yeah. In Japan, that it's pretty much Shiro Koshinaka's move. Yeah.
His famous
he
gimmick.
was using a jumping knee attack. How's that? High knee?
Yes.
Yeah, jumping knee
Jumbo.
attack. That's English, but very much Japanese. Japanese. Jumping knee attack, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, he was using that. Yeah, he was like already, according to Bruiser Brody, the exact quote from him is that Jumbo was so far ahead of everybody. As a matter of fact, Jumbo Tsuruta was Bruiser Brody's favorite opponent in Japan, over Inoki or anybody else. Did you know that?
I didn't know that he was his favorite, although I did know that I think Jumbo is maybe one of the only wrestlers to pin Bruiser
At
Brody.
the end of the very last tour before his death, yes, that actually Jumbo and Brody had more single match against each other than anybody else with one another. That Jumbo was always Brody's favorite, like a challenger, while Brody had this international singles heavyweight title. Remember, like real early 80 part before AWA run.
Mhm.
Yeah. International heavyweight title was actually the Rikki Dozan's heavyweight title when he brought, supposedly Rikki Dozan beat Ruthes in Los Angeles in 1958. He brought the heavyweight title back as an international heavyweight title. Rikki Dozan held that title until his death. Then later on, Baba revived that title with All Japan Pro Wrestling. During 60s, that international heavyweight title was the Giant Baba's signature heavyweight championship before All Japan, PWF run. Then he left the title when he left the company, and somebody like Kintaro Oki or a couple other guys held it. But I believe it was like 81, 82, that Baba decided to revive the heavyweight title and gave it to Dory Funk. And Dory Funk Jr. and Bruiser Brody had long program, and eventually Brody beat Dory Funk Jr. to become pretty much signature international heavyweight champion for like 3-year period. Then there was real long program, Jumbo against Brody over this international heavyweight title. Eventually, Jumbo beat Brody. It was a DQ finish, not quite 1-3, but that Jumbo beat Brody for the title, and he held that international heavyweight title for a long time.
And in Japan, right. In Japan, the DQ finish, the title can still change hands.
PWF rules.
PWF rules.
Yeah. And another interesting PWF rule is that that the counting right out outside the ring is 10 in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Japan it's traditionally 20. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
But PWF rule, it's 10. Therefore, they use that method to beat somebody important. Fighting outside the ring and can't come back within the count of 10, and the referee Joe Higuchi will do a very, very iffy count, and whomever gets in the ring, just nick of time, beat him. You know what I'm saying? The very like late 70s into early 80s type of finish when you don't want to hurt beat somebody 1-3.
Many double count out finishes.
Double count out, double DQ, or no contest. All those things were still happening until late 80s that all the finish became pretty clean. Remember?
I remember most of Choshu's matches were great, and then they would finish on the floor.
At the end, yeah, I was so sick of it as a kid. And you would know that the two superstars, face each other. It's going to be DQ. It's going to be double count out. You kind of knew that as a kid. Then you learn about the world. You can't really, have clear winner. Then they come back with same lineup, same title match with same guys, and you do it again. And I guess you really learned about the world by wrestling. You know what I'm saying?
So
yeah. But Jumbo was that. So before international heavyweight title, there was United National Heavyweight title. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
He had that run. It's interesting. It's kind of interesting that the Giant Baba's All Japan had more than one singles heavyweight title. They never tell you which one's above another. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Kind of ambiguous.
Ambiguous, right? Because you have to guess PWF, right? Pacific Wrestling Federation title. that is not a world heavyweight title recognized by PWF, but you have United National Heavyweight title, and you have International Heavyweight title.
Hmm.
And it's like, which one sounds better, right?
They kind of sound the same almost.
Yeah, they're all important. And when you have 3 singles title, I guess all 3 of them become not so important too. It's really interesting.
But all 3 together would become pretty important.
That doesn't happen until 1990. Stan Hansen having PWF and UN title going against Jumbo Tsuruta's international heavyweight title. They fought over these 3 belts, and Jumbo unified all 3 belts and triple crown. Therefore, triple crown from that point on. They're the same title that the today's All Japan Pro Wrestling have. Although physical championship belt ain't the same. They were using those 3 old belts up until a couple of years ago, but I guess they had to return to Mrs. Baba's home.
Well, at the Ota Award show a month or 2 ago, they actually brought out
the physical belt back. Like old antique. Yes.
Yeah, they used it like a
I
gimmick.
wish, Jake Lee would wear that belt, to give him like a really historical rub,
I would love that, but I guess it's up to the Baba family, isn't it?
Right. And I guess they borrowed that belt for the night, huh?
Yeah, rental.
Then they went back to the new design belt,
Yes.
And sometimes it's the design of the championship belt is very important, don't you think?
I think so. And how it looks on around the waist or on the shoulder of someone.
Yeah, the physical same international tag team belt and PWF tag team belt, they still use that belt. The ones that the Suwama and Ishikawa or Aoyagi and the Miyahara has, those the tag team belts, those were the same physical belt John Baba and Anthony Inoki together were wearing way back 50 years ago. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
They look like a real belt for your pants.
Yeah, it's like a touch the game ball, right? It's like when I was a kid, that the champion walks by, you try to touch the guy's back or touch the belt or something. Yeah, I touched it,
Mm-hmm.
I did that as a kid.
And, one thing I wanted to ask you about before, because we were talking about the Triple Crown, but before that, we mentioned that Brody died, and I wanted to just confirm, wasn't there a plan to have Bruiser, Brody, and Jumbo as a tag team before?
Yeah, that year, yeah. Baba planned on 1988 Rio Tag Team Championship in this, ended November into December tag team tournament. The plan was Jumbo and Bruiser Brody as a team. That's big. Another team was Tenryu and Stan together.
Yeah, it's like the mirror opposites of each other.
Yeah, right. But the Stan and Tenryu team happened the following year, though.
Right. And that continued.
Yeah. But that would turn Bruiser Brody much awaited babyface turn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was ready for it too.
Yeah, and people were ready for it. And Stan would only work heel, but people react to him like babyface. That's really interesting, See, Stan never changed it. He always worked heel side and worked like heel. But for some reason, at the end of the night, he was the most popular one at the building. It just happens naturally. The way he works, or like convincingly beats somebody clean 1, 2, 3 with lariat, never disappoint anybody. Then you go, yes, and then people, all the Japanese audience go, yes, with him. Yeah,
he was very unpredictable in a fun way. You couldn't predict what his next move would be.
Yeah, and then also Stan Hansen at the time, he got pinned, probably once or twice a year, by somebody important, like sometimes Baba, sometimes Jumbo, and sometimes Tenryu. But what he does is, what Stan does, 1, 2, 3, you get pinned, right? But not quite big move, 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring. But most of the time, it's either backslide or small package inside cradle or something like a ebigatame kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
shrimp hold.
Yeah, shrimp hold. Yeah, ebigatame. That's a translation, though. Just as soon as the referee hit the 3 count, 1, 2, 3, Stan gets up and start beating everybody.
Mm-hmm. 3.1.
I guess. So the match is over. Stan got pinned. But he gets up so mad that they start running all the young wrestlers out of the ring and start beating everybody. And he runs out of the ring and walk into the crowd, and people kind of forget what just happened.
They forget he lost,
Yeah, it was like that.
and he keeps his momentum.
I guess so. Yeah, the record shows that yes, Stan was pinned and the title changed hand and stuff like that, but Stan is just as strong the night after that.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
that was Stan's way.
And Jumbo and Stan had a kind I don't know about a rivalry, but I do remember that you told me a story. I think this is when we did our shows on Stan Hansen, and the two ran into each other at a Japanese bar
Restaurant after the show, like in local town, and like you're looking for a place to eat real late at night after the show, and you find this Chinese restaurant, like middle of nowhere, and that open until morning or something. Then he walked in and Jumbo was already eating, Then Stan and they didn't sit together, They waved at each other, smiled, and sat in different table. And somebody gets, somebody whomever finished the dinner first gets up, you pay at the cashier, right? And they look at each other and waved again. That was enough, he said. And the friendship and camaraderie and trust are there,
But it's very
old-fashioned.
Old-fashioned, yeah.
And also Jumbo being very private too,
Right.
Not too many people knew his medical condition. Yeah. Well, we should go into that sometime soon. I mean, not sometime, but the very next, that the part 2 of Jumbo episode, we should talk about because actually after his health decline, that's when he became really popular. Isn't that ironic?
And he really helped create the next generation. He's a very important part.
Yeah, because even in wrestling, you gotta be beat. You get beat in the middle of the ring, not just leaving. When you change the somebody, main event status to somebody and create new star for the company, you wouldn't just walk away. You just have to do the match and get pinned in the middle of the ring and establish that. And then people know something has just changed. Yeah, clearly.
And there's a lot more to talk about because he did kind of become the Jumbo in 1990 was a lot different than Tomomi Tsuruta in the early 70s.
Oh, right. Not rookie anymore. He's 10, 15 years older. And I just realized he was born in 1951. So he would have been 70 years old now.
Wow.
I mean, he is still with us, yes. But
that's quite young.
He died when he was like 48, 49. Yeah. Only 1 year after Baba's passing, which was another symbolic thing that Japanese wrestling lost both Jumbo, Giant Baba and Jumbo in the 2 consecutive years. That made Misawa's crew even stronger, though, on hindsight.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think this is just in the character, not in real life, but Jumbo felt more like the bully in All Japan later on before he wrapped
he
it
was
up.
so much bigger than any of them, compared to your next main event guys, Misawa, Toshiaki Kawada, Kenta Kobashi, Akira Taue. Taue is pretty tall. And Jun Akiyama, right? Probably. None of them, they were all shorter than Jumbo. Jumbo was the tallest. Older, 10 years older than, any of them. But he was much taller, much heavier, and just such a veteran and a great worker.
He was built the same kind of way Bruiser Brody was. There's the Japanese, Japanese mirror kind of version, just in terms of body and body size.
Yeah, not exactly bodybuilder type, but just big guy.
The thick football player type.
Yeah.
The wrestler body.
In Japan, it's not WWE ring. You don't have to look like bodybuilders. Giant Baba never looked bodybuilders, And Jumbo was the same way. And Tenru, former sumo wrestler, you wouldn't look like bodybuilders.
No way.
On the other hand, Inoki built a little bit more like not a bodybuilder, but more athletic,
He was more like an action star, Bruce Lee.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Sakaguchi, Tatsumi Fujinami, Rikki Choshi, Kengo Kimura. Yeah, all like similar, physique.
I think New Japan has always been a little more focused on the look and the aesthetic. Yeah, even up to like Tanahashi. He's a great example of this version.
Guy. Yeah.
or Ibushi. They have a look that's a lot different than, say, Suwama Shuji Ishikawa. But both have,
Oh, right.
they both
It's
have
okay.
a big appeal.
Yeah. It's okay though. You don't have to be good looking. This is not a handsome contest, you know?
No.
Yeah, so the professional wrestler can have certain professional wrestler look, you know?
Mm.
Harley Race was called handsome Harley Race because he wasn't handsome.
Mm. Or the
Yeah.
recent the beautiful Bobby.
Beautiful Bob, yeah, that kind
He's
of thing.
passed away, unfortunately.
Right. So they always had this kind of wrestling lingo to it, you know? Yeah. And Jumbo was star from the beginning, and he was already one of the greatest, you know, best worker in second year in. He was having equal match against real superstars at the time, like people like Dory Funk, Terry Funk, Jack Briscoe, Harley Race, or even they brought in a real veteran like Fritz von Erich and had him beat him, you know.
Mm.
And he had a single match against then 49-year-old Vern Gagne. He had a
Billy Robinson
3-4 match. Billy Robinson. He beat Billy Robinson. Yeah.
Right.
For the title. Yeah. Oh, every single American name wrestlers. Yeah. Jumbo pretty much faced all the single superstars from America, the ones that already had single match against Giant Baba in previous era. It was fed to Jumbo in that era. Yeah.
He seems like he could be one of the best wrestlers of that era, Japanese wrestlers.
He already was.
But particularly who could work with a foreign talent in a way that there was no styles clash. It was actually kind of
no style clash. He worked
very smooth
because he patterned his style after Terry Funk.
Mm-hmm.
And you watch 70s old tape of Jumbo. Yes, he does work like Terry Funk. I didn't know that. I didn't have the good eyes for that. I mean, when I was a kid. Now, if you want to watch the old 70s, you know, old tape from that era, you can clearly see the Jumbo was like Terry Funk, you know, in the ring.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very similar. And he could have a very convincing, very even matchup with people like Mil Mascaras, too.
Mm-hmm. He was good with smaller wrestlers.
Mm-hmm. And also, Mil Mascaras being famous for being very difficult to work with, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But he had this very, you know, famous single match, and he actually beat Mil Mascaras with the count out outside the ring. No pinning, but still beat Mil Mascaras in 1976. Very impressive, right?
Yeah. So he was just the. I mean, would you say he was as popular at a point as Baba?
Well, actually, he was never popular as Baba or Inoki. That's the point I'm trying to cross. That in his real peak years, when he was really one of the best in the whole world, the best worker, an all-around good wrestler, and he can have today's the 5-star matches or so, that he wasn't all that popular. He was maybe too perfect.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
And I think that really came out late in the late 80s, 90s when
when the health was declining and he was hitting 40 years old, and younger guys coming up like Misawa, you know, Kawada, and all these guys are coming up, and that's when he became really, really popular. It's like, you know what? I've been watching Jumbo for 20 years and I love this guy, kind of thing. Guys. Well, because wrestling fans are almost opportunists, you know, that you decide who you like. Because when John Cena was really, really good, he wasn't even all that popular. Now he's super popular. You know what I'm saying?
And he barely wrestles.
Right. But he comes off like superstar. I mean, bigger star than the current guys.
What's the old phrase? Distance makes the heart grow fonder.
I guess. Yeah. And
so.
Also, he was away too. You know, when he he got sick in 1991, I believe, 92, that he was gone for 6 months period, and he was never the same. He could only have tag team match situation where he tags out and take breaks. You know, he never had much of single match program after that. But whenever he came back, it's like so much welcomeness. Just, I mean, it's like it's good to see him back, kind of thing.
Yeah, but I think once Misawa beat him in 90, and I think when all the younger guys started to establish themselves, I don't think he could really keep up at that pace. They changed the style
and also they never had single match, and Kawada never beat him. Kobashi never beat him. Taue never beat him, So his position was locked. But he was never full-time again after 92. So,
and he was also
maybe
Misawa's tag team partner early on when he was Tiger Mask.
Right. When they first established PWF tag team title, Stan and Ted DiBiase against people like Jumbo and Tiger Mask, which Tiger Mask was Misawa, yes.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
we could start from around that period of time for the part 2 of our Jumbo episode.
Yeah, because the next part I think it's different. I think we need to cover more detail. It wasn't as long of a time, but it was when All Japan really shifted the generation from.
And then also Tenryu and his guys left. 10 guys left All Japan.
All Japan really changed around this time. This was the biggest change before Noah.
And also the American influence has changed. That the NWA Crockett promotion was bought, by Turner TV, and it became WCW. There was no more NWA establishment, and Baba cut the tie with NWA, and all the titles up until that point, sanctioned by PWF and recognized by NWA. Tag team title, the international heavyweight title, the Asian tag team title, the UN title. Up until then, they were saying sanctioned by PWF and also recognized by NWA. Then they stopped saying NWA completely. Yeah. So pretty much cut the tie. American establishment.
And there was that. And I believe he also had a kind of tough relationship with Mrs. Baba.
Jumbo?
Yeah, kind of complicated.
I think Jumbo still, I have to point that out, that Jumbo was the one who had very good relationship with Mrs. Baba. Because Mrs. Baba was the one who was really, really careful with Jumbo from the day one. Yeah.
So we're going to tackle all of that in the next and final part of Jumbo's showcase. Because because I want today's fan to really think Jumbo was very, very important historical figure in Japanese wrestling history. Yeah. And I think the style that he was part of and doing, it's kind of, I don't know if it's misunderstood or maybe it's just time has passed, but the style, it's not a flashy style. It's something that he's, I think the reincarnation of him now is Suwama. That's
very similar.
That's the only person I can think of, but yeah.
Yeah, but the Suwama does not have or hasn't had any program with big Americans.
No.
Just, what's his name? Dory. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a different time. Yeah.
Yeah, different time. Yeah. So he wasn't exactly Bruiser, Brody, or Stan Hansen or all the big guys, big guns from States. But the big guns from States at the time was all locked in with this WCW or WWE, All the big guns are already under contracts with WWE, and you need to develop your own American talent in Japan, kind of thing.
Write that down, Fumi Saito.
All right, welcome back, patrons. This is Write That Down. I'm Justin Knipper of FightGameMedia.com and WrestlingObserver.com. I'm back with the one, the only Mr. Fumi Saito. Welcome back.
Hello from Tokyo.
Today is second part of our Jumbo Tsuruta Part 2 showcase profile. We're going to what we're going to start with, we're going to start at his career in All Japan in 1984, 1985, 1986, the mid-'80s era, because this is where the real big shift in his character seemed to change, right?
Right, in Japanese wrestling history as well.
Right, because of Rikki Choshi.
Yeah, so we have to start with Rikki Choshi's strong New Japan heel run for the first time. He turned on Fujinami, and that was basically the very first Japanese heel faction. Remember?
Ishingun.
Yeah, Rikki Choshi, the Yoshiaki Yatsu, the Killer Khan, Animal Hamaguchi, the Isamu Teranishi, the Kuniaki Kobayashi, the very strong Japanese heel faction that made New Japan lineup the top top group cluster lineup and matchup, all Japanese babyface against Japanese heels. And up until then, both Inoki's New Japan, Giant Baba's All Japan, it was basically Japanese top star against American superstar format. Remember? Yeah.
For a while.
And traditionally. And this Rikki Choshu's Ishingun had a strong run in New Japan, 82, 83, 84. Okay. 3 years, real strong run. Then the entire Rikki Choshu's faction, Ishingun, became an actual company body. They incorporated themselves as a Japan Pro Wrestling, Japan Pro, we call it. And signed the contract with All Japan and Nippon Television's Channel 4. So the entire Rikki Choshu faction migrated into All Japan. It was more so a Channel 4 Nippon Television decision than the Baba's decision. Okay. That's pretty much, I don't have to talk about myself, but the beginning of January 85, that's when I basically started full-time is Weekly Pro Wrestling, Shukan Pro Wrestling baseball magazine. So I started being there all the time, and came back from States and all that. And the dressing room, like in a small dressing room, you've been to downstairs of Korakuen Hall, right? The building actually isn't all that big.
No.
Now, you have All Japan Japanese dressing room with 20 guys in it. And you have American dressing room. You always have like 10 Americans in it. Then 15 that the Rikki Choshu's Ishingun had their own dressing room. So then they had 13 matches a night, and 6-man tag team, 8-man tag team, 6-man tag team, 6-man tag team. It's like too many guys. Like you got 45 to 50 guys working every night. Crazy, huh?
Very hot crowds too. People loved what was going on.
Yeah. And that really changed the basic format of All Japan Pro Wrestling. You have Rikki Choshu's guys, not Ishingun now, but it's a Japan Pro Wrestling with different, tracksuit top and bottom. They took off, pretty much half the lineup. And you have traditional Japanese, All Japan babyface Japanese dressing room, and you have American like Stan Hansen, the Tiger Jitsin, the Funks, the regular American team. Up until then, we're talking about Jumbo now. Jumbo Tsuruta and his role was take up on top American superstars in main event place, right?
Right.
But by having Rikki Choshu's 15 guys, start working full time with All Japan, that forced Jumbo into this tag team situation against Rikki Choshu's group basically every night. So up until then, Jumbo never really worked against Japanese heels. That really changed his style. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and he stopped working alongside Giant Baba as much, and
but by having Rikki Choshu's whole clan, whole faction coming in and signed with that group, that was an opportunity that Baba really stepped down from that top position and made his position like your 6-man tag team, rather comic 6-man tag team before the intermission type of deal.
That's kind of a classic All Japan part of the show, right?
Yeah, I enjoy it.
The light
not
part.
So much comic, but before the intermission, Giant Baba has his own match in 6-man tag team against Japanese heels, like Russia Kimura and his guys, pretty much all year long, and that was like a happy time, that too. And then intermission comes. And then the Jumbo's group, against Rikki Choshu's group, basically every night, guys rotate, Rikki Choshu team up with Killer Khan one night, the next night you team up with Animal Hamaguchi or Yoshiaki Yatsu or sometimes Kobayashi, or you just kind of rotate, but basically kind of a routine, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And around that time, yes, that the Tenru was still babyface right underneath Jumbo. Okay. So Tenru wasn't really the big superstar of himself later on. That hasn't happened yet. Okay. That's a picture. And it really forced Jumbo to come up with his real natural, himself. Like he's actually physically a lot bigger than any of these Choshu's guys.
Much bigger.
Taller and heavier. Yeah, much bigger. So he started working more like a monster, like a Japanese Stan Hansen, Japanese Bruiser Brody kind of thing.
Even his facial expressions kind of started to change around this time. He had a kind of a baby face look with the fluffy hair and the Texas pants. And by the 80s, he was a little heavier, a little meaner. He acted like the enforcer in All Japan. He acted
right.
He was a new role he was taking on.
It was much like your late 90s NWO type of thing, that a whole bunch of Japanese heels, a whole bunch of fresh heel coming into your company as outsiders,
Mm-hmm.
That was Rikki Choshi. And actually a lot of people loved Rikki Choshi's group over New Japan. All Japan guys. A lot of the male fans traditionally always secretly loved heels over babyface, huh?
I have a question for you, and it relates to this. So when you say, Choshu turned on Fujinami and he and his group Ishingun, they became Japanese heels. But when you say heel in Japan, does it mean exactly the same thing when we think heel in, say, United States?
Like a rule breaking and it's more like they treat it like your philosophical difference.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
And Choshu's group kind of had more of all the guys, their personalities seemed to have an edge. They were a little more, maybe they didn't get really good grades in school compared to other top stars on the other side.
And all of them had like a goatee or mustache,
shaggy hair.
Yeah, right. Or different costume, not like your uniform New Japan black trunks and black boots. Rikki Choshi had black trunks but white boots. Animal Hamaguchi had his Tarzan tights,
one strap.
Yeah, and the Killer Khan always dressed like Killer Khan, the Mongolian. Yoshiaki Yatsu always dressed like your Masa Saito get up, the knee tights with Japan on it. And it's like dressed like heel, but it wasn't like your rule breaking, cheating heels. They work like tough guys. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it felt like they were the away team coming into the home team's field.
Or like outcast guys.
Yeah, they're the outsiders. They were outsiders compared with...
That made people like Fujinami even cleaner,
Right. And on the
bigger baby face.
And All Japan too, on the other side, it kind of shifted.
Yeah, it made Jumbo, it's like your strong New Japan fans, it's like keep and save All Japan from these outsiders, right? Yeah, so some of these people, yes, really behind Jumbo and Tenryu then, but Rikki Choshi positioned as heel, but these guys are cool guys,
Cool heels.
Cool heels, yeah. But nonetheless, that the whole lineup became, the Japanese babyface All Japan side against Japanese heels, the Japan Pro Wrestling, Rikki Choshi's group, formerly known as Ishingun. Then they pretty much pushed American guys into mid card. You still had, Stan Hansen, of course, on top, and all the other Americans come in and rotate, and that made also people like Great Kabuki All Japan side like a babyface, saving the company from the outsiders. And so they changed a little bit of layout of it, but made Jumbo clear babyface. Not challenging to a bigger name, like when he challenged people like, Dory Funk to Jack Briscoe to Harley Race to Terry Funk all the way to Ric Flair. He was the guy who's challenging big for the bigger thing. But all of a sudden, after Rikki Choshi and his group came in, Jumbo was the one who was defending the company.
He's protecting the Holy Land.
Yeah, and then Baba is not involved in the actual fight. He became more of a boss in fans' eyes too.
Right, and he would start doing more of the funny matches with Rusher Kimura and
yeah. So that was a nice part before in the mission, like I said. And Giant Baba never really had single match against people like Rikki Choshi
No.
or Killer Khan. You know,
He was in the he wasn't on the first or second matches, but he phased himself
like a
out.
fourth match right before the intermission,
Mhm.
and after the intermission, the match gets serious. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And the only time Giant Baba had actual matches against people, Rikki Choshi's guys, were during the tag team tournament in December.
Right.
Yeah, tag team of what, Baba and Dory Funk together, or Baba against Jumbo sometimes. Baba and a little bit later on, Baba and Stan Hansen team up together as
94.
the senior guys. Yeah. But that was Rikki Choshi and his guys enter these real tag team tournament in December. Therefore, once a year, Baba's team and Rikki Choshi's team face against each other just once. And the photographers are there to just shoot the moment where Rikki Choshi put the Scorpion Deathlock, Sasori Gatame on Giant Baba, just to take that one picture, you know?
But it was
So they touched each other
yeah.
for just a few minutes.
Yeah.
But there was never serious competition, or even people wanted to see it even, you know? That they knew and we knew there was like two different generations of wrestlers. Giant Baba, much older, and everybody knows he's a boss, you know, but still in the ring. So it was good.
So it was a real big shift in pro wrestling.
Big shift. And like I said, that the member of Rikki Choshi's group, Rikki Choshi, the Killer Khan, the Yoshiaki Yatsu, the Animal Hamaguchi, the Masa Saito a little bit once or twice coming back from States, and Kuniaki Kobayashi, of course, that he was the biggest rival of original Tiger Mask, and wearing red pants like your Benny Jet Yukide, you know, that martial arts superstar.
Yeah, the kung fu, karate kung fu, death match in Hong Kong. He was very very popular.
That was he put the same red tights, pants, you know, and that was Kobayashi's gimmick. Anyhow, that was the time that the 2-year period, 1985, 1986, 2-year period. On top of this, Rikki Choshi's group, as of 1986, then rookie, 1984 LA Olympic guy, Hiroshi Hase, and Kensuke Sasaki, right out of high school, they joined Rikki Choshi's group. Later on, too, became superstars, right? A very strong faction.
But a different path, because Choshi would end up leaving. He would return back to New Japan.
In 87.
Yeah, right before.
After 2-year run. Yeah.
So
right.
At 87, so it seemed, you know, it was back to Jumbo's house again. And Misawa was Tiger Mask 2.
Right.
It was
Great Kabuki was still there, and Yoshiaki Yatsu was the only one who decided not to leave and go back to New Japan with them, and he stayed with his old Japan and turned basically babyface and start teaming with Jumbo,
right,
as an Olympian. Yeah,
Jumbo also had a pretty popular run with Tenryu.
Yeah, Kakuryu. Yeah.
They were
that position. It was positioning Tenryu clear number 2, clearly underneath Jumbo though, and also Jumbo having international heavyweight title single, and Tenryu having United National Heavyweight title, which people viewed as one below international title. So he was positioned clear number 2. He had to right after, not right after, but after Rikki Choshi's whole 15 wrestlers clan, his faction went back to New Japan. Then he somewhat became scouting, you know, right? And that was when Tenryu really started, showing his personality. That it's like he's not happy with this position, and he wants to have single match against Jumbo, and he wants to who is better. I mean, all these very simple storyline, but the ones that make realistically make sense.
Yeah, with the timeline, it felt natural.
Yeah. And he assigned his, another loner, Ashura Hara, as his tag team partner, like another loner. Okay, we'll get together, and became Ryugen Ho and forming heel tag team. But never was labeled as heel. It was more like a same philosophy Rikki Choshi used. It's like an outcasted. I'm not going to be with this, this total babyface like goody, I don't know, what do you call it?
Like goody two shoes, like perfect.
Goody two shoes type. I was looking
yeah.
for that word. Yeah.
He said, I'm not going to do this. I don't represent this. I represent something else.
Right. And what he need is serious single match against Ten Jumbo that never really took place while Rikki Choshi was around.
No, nothing with a real definitive ending.
Right.
A lot of this time in the 80s, there was a lot of double count outs, a lot of schmas.
Yeah. It was real frustrating for all Japan fans as well, because New Japan always gave relatively cleaner finish because traditionally Inoki and Fujinami beat everybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Jumbo against, even people like Jumbo against Terry Gordy single match, they never gave, clear finish.
Right.
Yeah. And Jumbo against Bruiser Brody single match so many times, but you usually count out finish outside the ring or double count out or your dusty finish, Joe Higuchi referee bump and something like that, So it was really frustrating, because Baba was always to take care top names, like really conservative, old fashioned American type promoter booking.
NWA style.
I guess, yeah, because you have to save face.
Sure.
Because they're from different companies and they're just American superstars are just having tours. And yeah, it's like not going to beat them and send home,
Yeah, there's a compromise, so.
Yeah. And around the same time, 85, when Rikki Choshi's group came in, that's when Bruiser Brody decided to leave All Japan and all by himself joined, signed contract with New Japan and had this 1985 program, Inoki against Bruiser Brody, legendary series. Yeah.
Yeah.
And 85 was also the year that the Road Warriors start coming in as regular. They only had like 1 week tour here and there, but they came in three or four tours a year, 1 week at a time. So they made big deal out of that, but the Road Warriors was added to the All Japan package, which was good. And still people like Harley Race and Nick Bakwenko aged, but they still have like a big superstar aura. The Race and Bakwenko would come in probably twice a year. And every summer you have Mil Mascaras and his brother Dos Caras. And after that Summer Action Series, you have Dory and Terry Funk come in. And yeah, so they had All Japan had its, annual calendar year that just much like your, January means Royal Rumble. April means WrestleMania, SummerSlam, the Survivor Series, all these other pay-per-views are important, but all those big 5 tours, yeah, it's a big. And in Japan, you have that January Giant Series tour, then you have a Superpower Series tour. Spring, you have your serious singles Champion Carnival tournament thing. And the summer, you have, like I said, Mil Mascaras tour, the Funk tour. In fall, you have another Giant Series, all the stars. Then December, you have your tag team tournament. And yeah, calendar year was strong. And Jumbo was always on top of it. But I think after Jumbo having these single matches against people like Rikki Choshi and his, more of a Japanese heels, people started taking Jumbo a little bit more seriously. Like, this guy wasn't just good wrestler. This guy is big guy and tough guy. Because the Rikki Choshi and Jumbo Tsuruta single match only happened once in 1985. It was 60-minute Broadway. 60-minute, Of course, no finish. But Jumbo actually toyed Rikki Choshi over, with his physical dominance, I guess,
He's much bigger than Choshu.
Yeah, and then Rikki Choshi back then was a type of wrestler. You can have great single matches against certain guys, but against certain guys, he only has social matches,
Yes, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It was up to how he's feeling, maybe, that night.
Yeah, he has to do this, his Ricky Lariat. He has to be able to do his Scorpion Deathlock. He has to work like Rikki Choshi. And some of these wrestlers wouldn't allow it, right? Or just look awkward,
Yeah.
Yeah, Stan Hansen, Rikki Choshi, single match that happened 5-6 times, I think. It wasn't as good as your Jumbo against Stan match if you're an educated fan.
Yeah, they're too independent for each other for it to work. I think somebody like Stan Hansen likes to go in and it seems like people follow behind him. It's his pace.
He has to work like Stan Hansen.
Yes, but Choshu has to work like Choshu, on the other hand.
Oh, the style clash.
Yeah.
It's still professional. Nothing funny happened. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, it just wasn't. It was maybe better in our minds beforehand.
Or just two different cocktails.
True. Yeah. I just,
kind of like that.
But that's okay because they both went on to great success. So.
Oh, of course. And when I asked Stan Hansen in person how he thought about Rikki Choshi, the Stan didn't think Choshi was bad. He thought he had his own style, and then if you didn't like our match, be it, and he didn't think it was bad matches. Both guys looked like they're trying to win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it looked more like a boring MMA match.
Yeah, but it's when you ask people like a veteran like Terry Funk, you see some of the matches, I didn't think it was any good. And I didn't think the match was good. Why so, right? And Terry Funk will teach you. Both guys looked like they were trying to win. That's what makes good matches. And your good match and my good match, his definition is different. Okay, sir. You know what I'm saying? So I learned something from that. You have to look like you are trying to win, because the whole thing of wrestling is make believe, right? When you see a good wrestling match, professional, okay? When you see a good wrestling match, you would have this suspension of disbelief thing naturally without even trying. Oh, that was a good match, right?
You should.
Not just flying or not just very successful, complicated high spot. It was more like one person fighting another person and each guy is trying to win. And the moves and transition may not look as smooth as your good match, good work. But if you are looking like you're trying to win that match, that makes good match. It's oh, wow, I learned something. So that changed me a little bit.
And Jumbo is another one of those guys who really wrestled in a way where it was sort of realistic in that it looked like he really wanted to end the match and win and overpower and put pressure on all of his opponents like he would in a regular wrestling match.
And he's so big, it's convincing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So,
but that made, so it's like almost like another run. It's like another chapter of Jumbo Tsuru's, wrestling career. His role up until then was this blue star, American-looking tights and having a great match, so-called great match with American superstars. That was his role up until 84, But when he started working against another Japanese heels and Japanese wrestlers, he really turned another page in Jumbo's career. He had it in him, and people started looking at him differently. Does that make sense?
It must be he was showing a different side of himself to the crowd. It was a different side of his. It just wasn't like what he was like when he came in. He found.
Then to me, he wasn't working 100% up until then. Now he shows emotion. Now he shows his anger. Now he shows his like a happiness that when he gives big clothesline or something, they go whoa, then people react to it like you were with him, kind of thing.
Or a big double chop that makes a big bachi sound, that smack against somebody. He would always use that double chop.
Yeah.
Also,
then signal the crowd that go, right?
That's right, yeah, because he just had that presence. Who else could do that? Who else could do that and help you forget about all the other stuff that might help or might hold wrestling back? You want to get into it. You want to root for somebody who wants to win. And like you said, if the match is focused on winning, it's easier for fans to get behind it.
It might be a newer term that everybody talk about strategically things, right? Everything's strategic. But yes, Giant Baba strategically placed rookie Jumbo into top spot right away as a babyface. But Jumbo himself strategically made himself biggest guy and toughest guy by working against Japanese group, like strategically. But it was kind of natural. And back there, educated wrestling fans' mind, it became clear that Jumbo is the biggest and toughest guy. Do you know anybody else who is tougher than Jumbo? It's like, right. I didn't like Jumbo all that much as a star and babyface superstar and top star and all these things. But now I believe Jumbo is the biggest and toughest guy. It's like, wow, it became clear very convincingly, therefore very believable. Does that make sense?
I think so. I think it's a mix of his time he spent there adding to his credibility, plus being in the ring. It's easy to just suspend disbelief. And
then gave him another edge by working against edgy guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it also kind of later on, it seemed to, this is just my opinion, it seemed to give him more of big bully senpai feel in the late 80s, 90s, especially
when younger guys start coming up.
Yes. So but before that, he did have that really important match with Stan Hansen, the Triple Crown match.
Yeah. And put Tenryu in that package too. That elevated Tenryu in the same. There's like a 3 Yokozunas. Yokozuna meaning grand champion, top guys. Jumbo, Stan, Tenryu. These 3 became equal as of 86, 87. Yeah.
But Tenryu was still kind of that third man, a little bit.
Yeah, third man, but you love underdog in wrestling.
Right. And he would go on to a totally different route. We talked about that in a couple episodes.
Yeah, because he had longer career.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it was his goal. It was his goal to, beat Jumbo, and people believed in him and believed in the whole program.
Mm-hmm.
Can Tenryu beat Stan 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring? Can Tenryu beat Jumbo 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring? That happened with this new finish of Powerbomb. Powerbomb became kind of a trendy move in late 90s. Jumbo used it, Tenryu used it, Stan Hansen used it, Terry Gordy used it. It became like a very convincing move. The Powerbomb finish.
Sid Vicious.
Yeah,
in America at the same time.
Yeah,
a little later.
But Powerbomb was was a very convincing move.
Yeah,
I mean, how get picked up by it. The big guy gets slammed from back with the head, the whole body. How can you get up from that?
It looked devastating. It had a very powerful look.
Yeah. After Choshu's clan left, it was around the time 88, 89 that the big business change occurred in America too. The end of NWA era, and WCW, was born, and WWE, WWF at the time, and WCW became 2 major companies with national TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of 100 wrestlers, under contract, and there's all the local territories, so-called territories up until then, it all went out of business. AWA went out of business. Dallas World Class went out of business. Detroit, Indianapolis. Even NWA Florida, Central States. All these NWA and other companies went out of business. They just really changed the map, right? Were you following wrestling then?
I started following wrestling in 1991, 1990.
Oh, okay, right.
So
that already had. So you already had WCW national television.
Yes. I came right at the end, like but when it was New York, I didn't get much. It was WWF territory when I grew up.
WWF every week.
Yeah,
right.
Only in Western New York there was other stuff.
After 84, though, there's so many wrestlers in WWF.
Yes.
So many. I mean, Vince McMahon Sr.'s era, it was still a big company, but you only had like maybe 20 to 25 wrestlers altogether.
Mm-hmm. It was like a team.
Yeah.
A roster, yeah.
And a roster, right. And after the Hulk Hogan era came in, you have 100 wrestlers in 3 different cities, and running every day kind of thing. And that influenced the landscape of Japanese wrestling as well. Giant Baba's All Japan Pro Wrestling, the very strong ally, very strong affiliate from NWA era, right?
Mm-hmm.
Giant Baba's All Japan was the only company that the NWA World Champion would travel. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Harley Race, Dory Funk, all these people. That Inoki's New Japan had business, that connection with WWF, and all the New York superstar would travel to New Japan. Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, whatnot. But that really changed the landscape. WWE and New Japan finished their business relationship.
Mhm.
So they had to develop their own American talent, right? Too, and a lot of Japanese heels. And the same thing happened with All Japan around the same time that they cut the tie with NWA and WCW. So you have your own American crew like Stan Henson, the Tiger Jeet Singh, the Terry Gordy, the Steve Williams, Danny Spivey, then rookie Johnny Ace, Dynamite Kid after he quit WWF, Davey Boyd. All these All Japan American was developed that time. Remember?
They were kind of the regulars. They would be on most of the tours or every other tour.
The Stan Hansen, Johnny S, Danny Spivey, Danny Crawford, the Doug Furness, Terry Gordy, Steve Williams, they were on tour every tour. They're on every tour.
So they were like a part of the Japanese roster almost. They were regulars.
Oh yeah, they're all Japan Americans.
Mhm.
Yeah. Therefore, actually, when you have regular, you can really work program,
Yeah, and it wasn't like in the 60s and 70s where the foreigners were the big monster stars. These were more of...
They're just having tours.
They were equals to the rest of the Japanese wrestlers. It was more of like a even sport.
Then in a couple of years' time, that Terry Gordy and Steve Williams will all be in Triple Crown pictures too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that made Jumbo like a giant Japanese baby face again. You can work against Tenryu's, heel group. You can work against the American, like a Stan and other, Jumbo against Steve Williams, Jumbo against Terry Gordy, Jumbo against Danny Spivey and such. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it was maybe do you think it was just also a special time, because that was a lot of special wrestlers that I don't think that doesn't happen often, when a lot of those talents are all in the same place at the same time, especially in that late 80s, early 90s, with a lot of the stars that we were just talking about from overseas.
Yeah. But Terry Funk, people like Terry Gordy and Steve Williams choose Japan as their home territory over American schedules. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That after start making 8 tours back and forth the whole year, Terry Gordy, Steve Williams, Johnny S, Danny Spivey, just like Stan, they stopped working in the States. Yeah, altogether.
It was more lucrative.
Because Giant Baba was paying them like annual contract salary. Yeah, you make enough money just in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a constant grind of a tour like WWF would be almost every day. Non-stop.
Oh, yeah. Japanese schedules actually like 120 shows a year, even with All Japan. 3-week tour, 2 weeks off. 3-week tour, 3 weeks off. 4-week tour, 3 weeks off. And people like I said, Terry Gordy, Steve Williams, Stan, Johnny, they were traveling 8 trips to Japan a year. So when you go home, you don't do anything.
Just rest.
Yeah. And you can actually focus on Japanese program,
Yeah, you can build.
Yeah, that's when Giant Baba decided to team up people like then rookie Kobashi and Johnny S together as a tag team, Japanese and American together.
Younger ones too.
Yeah, and good looking ones. Yeah, that was success. And later on, they grew out of each other and they can have their own single program too. Very strategically, designed again.
So then let's talk about Jumbo's relationship with Mitsuharu Misawa, because that's when by the 1990, I believe it was...
That's after actually 87, 88, 89 program, 3-year feud between Jumbo and Tenryu kind of ran its course. And in 1990, the new money, new company that the SWS ill-fated, but the SWS owned by Megane Super, they started a new wrestling company, like almost like a bubble economy company that they took Tenryu as their top guy, and Tenryu decided to leave at the age of 40.
And he finally could try his hand, become his version of the number one guy, the main guy.
Yeah, I think so. And he never went back to New Japan.
Mm-mm.
I mean, Tenryu never went back to All Japan until like 2001. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Next 10-year period was like Tenryu's prime time too. Yeah.
And when he returned to All Japan, that was sort of, maybe you could say, a similar role to Jumbo's role in the 80s, the guy who came back to sort of
senior wrestler
to protect the traditional
All Japan, All Japan logo,
especially in a rocky time.
Yeah, and it was Mrs. Baba, because Baba died in January of 1999, and Jumbo actually died year 2000. It was shocking. You know? And 2001, year 2000, Misawa and his 20 guys left Mrs. Baba's version of All Japan to form Pro Wrestling Noah, right? And he really became skeleton. Only 2 wrestlers left, Kawada and Fuchi, you know. Then a little bit later, a year later, Keiji Muto joins. But it was Mrs. Baba who made the phone call to Genichiro Tenryu. Please come back. It was good babyface story.
And you can, if you're listening now, you can go back into the Patreon archives and listen to the Tenryu episodes that we did last month, because we went into even more detail on those.
But if you go back and forth of 10 years to a 15-year period, that it might confuse our listeners. So let's go back to where we were. In 1990, Tenryu left for SWS. Jumbo's there. And with Tenryu, this time, much like Rikki Choshi did a few years back, that Tenryu took 10 guys from All Japan, when he left for SWS. That really became, oh my gosh, who's left, right? That's when Tiger Mask Unmasked became Mitsuharu Misawa, and that was his time. Everybody knew he was Misawa, but the timing was perfect. Tenryu's gone, and 10 other guys are gone, and you still have Jumbo, but it was Tiger Mask's time to go back to Misawa, and people were ready to see new superstar being born. Yeah.
New style, Jumbo was really a great example of the All Japan style for decades. I mean, the style in the ring.
And also for Jumbo, Misawa was always like his little brother type. Yeah, he never really beat Jumbo in single match situation. It happened. That's why it was huge. But yeah, everybody remembers this very historical match after Tenryu left. Jumbo against Unmasked. Now it's new Misawa with new emerald green tights, that's the single superstar about to be born. Jumbo, the biggest guy, biggest superstar and the strongest and toughest guy going up against the Misawa. This is a test that the Misawa can, really do something about this. Then Misawa beat Jumbo for the first time in his wrestling career. So that overnight sensation, Misawa actually beat Jumbo. That was believable, like a very single historical match in All Japan history.
It was a new chapter, really. Clearly a new chapter being opened.
I have to point out that what's really funny about people's memory, everybody remembers this Misawa beating Jumbo Tsuruta in single match at the Budokan for the first time. Historical, right? Misawa actually beat Jumbo 1-2-3 in the middle of the ring. Pretty complicated finish, but yeah, nonetheless, Misawa beat Jumbo for the first time. And actually, 2 months later, in next Budokan match, the rematch was taking place, and Jumbo beat Misawa 1-3 in the middle of the ring convincingly. So the score was 1-1. But nobody remembers that second match. It's not funny.
It shows the impact it had. It was the perfect time to do the first match.
Yeah, same thing. Exact same thing happened with people's memory. If you remember, Keiji Muto against Nobuhiko Takada, New Japan against UWFI match at the Tokyo Dome.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody remembers how Keiji Muto beat then superstar Nobuhiko Takada with figure four leg lock in Tokyo Dome. That was the end of UWFI, basically, right?
But I can't tell you how he won. The next, Takada won the next. I don't even remember.
Yeah, 2 months later, the same Tokyo Dome in January 4th, the following year, actually only 2 months later, Takada came back and beat Muto, right?
Mm-hmm.
People don't remember that one.
I don't even recall off the top of my head.
I was there. I just can't remember it, because the first match was so important and just impactful that, at the time, UWFI is like right between your pro wrestling and MMA style, right?
Mm-hmm. But there was no MMA really yet. It was still...
No, not yet. But the UWF was the closest thing.
Yes.
They don't bounce off ropes. They don't fight outside the ring. They don't do drop kicks or anything fancy. They just kicks and suplex and submissions. And they cut off all the fringes to be real kind of thing, right?
And they invited real wrestlers with credentials like Dan Severn and Gary Albright.
Or Kozlowski.
Hashimikov, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then Takada beat him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Takada's peak year, But something happens, and then the business declined, and they took up the business opportunity that for the last chance that they can still run Tokyo Dome up against New Japan. And New Japan's top guy, Keiji Muto, going up against Nobuhiko Takada. And it's like nobody knows who was going to win kind of thing. It was hard to predict, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, there was no... Well, the first one, just like you said, it felt so much more important. And on the second one...
Right.
It felt
the
like...
score was so pro wrestling, though, 1 against 1, though. 1 win, 1 lose at the end of the day. But nobody remembers the second one. So it really teaches you something that when you do this, you really have to win the first one.
I think so. And it has to be at the right time. It can't just be forced in.
Right. So back to Misawa, Jumbo beat Misawa the second match, but people don't remember. They only elevated Misawa as your new top guy. Yeah.
And he went on to become, the top guy in all Japan.
Next decade, yes.
But also...
And one of the top biggest superstar in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, Jumbo he would retire not too long after this.
Actually, in 1992, he took time off, and he got real ill, and it was reported as hepatitis B or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he really had to take time off. Then he went back to graduate school in Tsukuba University.
Mm-hmm.
He really, not a celebrity student, but he really went into graduate school, and he wrote the thesis. And shortly after that, he started teaching in college. That's what he did after real retirement. But after that, Jumbo wasn't the same when he came back. He took like 6, 7 months, 8 months off. But when he came back, the only thing he could do was tag team match and come in maybe twice, 3 times during the match. And he does clothesline or fast press or something, or just all kind of thing. It's good to just good to have him there.
Just to make an appearance, but he's not a part of the main stories at this point.
Or the title
matches. Yeah.
Right. But by then, not just Misawa, but Toshiaki Kawada was elevated. Then second, third year rookie Kobashi was groomed into this main event spot. And Akira Taue was so-so, but being put in a situation he can work. And you have then rookie Jun Akiyama. So all these younger guys becoming star. And that was 90s, very much.
And plus new foreign wrestlers becoming bigger stars like Steve Williams.
Right, in the title match picture.
Mm-hmm.
And Terry Gordy, Danny Spivey, Johnny Ace, Doug Furnas, Danny Crawford. Yeah. Dynamite Kid and Johnny Smith, of course,
Mhm.
and a couple guys rotated and start coming in too. Yeah. So yeah, that was a very much 90s era. And Jumbo was just, a star from another era that it was good for people to, see every now and then.
But if
Jumbo never had full-time schedule after 93.
yeah, and I guess you could say it felt like he was from a different time period by this point.
Yeah, right. And also past 40 years old. He was 40 something then.
Yeah. But the style of that Misawa and Kobashi and Kawada were employing was not what it was, an advanced version, but
oh god, very advanced. Only 5 guys that I just mentioned can do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And Jumbo
Misawa,
wasn't one. Jumbo was a different style.
Jumbo just stepped down, obviously.
Yeah.
He maybe he could pull it off, but he generously, intelligently stepped down. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
And
time.
also maybe, just maybe, his mind, his heart wasn't in it already. He left. When he went to graduate school and start teaching in college, and he became like a sports doctor, sports medicine type of person, that he was really searching for something new.
Yeah, he did that right where I am in University of Portland, in Oregon.
Right, and he started teaching. Yeah, yeah. Then we didn't hear from him. I mean, when he left, he really left wrestling.
It's pretty interesting. He was a huge star.
Mm-hmm. But he was intelligent enough to walk away and never looked back. Not too many superstars do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe him, Stan Hansen. Not too many keep the promise when they say they're going to quit. That's it.
Really quit. Yeah. Oh, Stan Hansen retired as a top guy, aged a little bit, but he was still able to have convincing single match against every single one of these Misawa, Kobashi, Kawada, Tao. And I don't think Stan was beat by Kawada. He was beat by Misawa, yes. And tag team situation, Kobashi pinned Stan Hansen in tag team situation, but not single match. And Kawada never beat Stan. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So he kept that, very convincing position.
And we don't have any strange or sad memories of his career. Like some wrestlers, they have different stages of their career, and it's just they're not the same. But Stan Hansen was Stan Hansen.
Oh God, yes, he was.
And Jumbo was Jumbo.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's when people really loved, having Jumbo. It's like Jumbo. It's like a chanting. Like it's good to have you. And it's like almost like treat him like a guest superstar for the Budokan show.
Mm-hmm.
He only came back once, maybe a 1 match per tour or something, only tag team situation, and never spent much time in front of the crowd. You know what I'm saying? So Jumbo is unique in that, very much so.
Yeah, he came and his print is unique. He's similar to some other wrestlers that came after him and came around that time, but Jumbo was Jumbo. Like you said, I think he's another one of those wrestlers who was first. It seems like he was an NWA style American wrestler before.
Right.
And he was adapting that style to Japan, just like Stan Hansen was.
Yeah.
And Bruiser Brody.
Having program against people like Choshi and Tenru, he could work Japanese style as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he had that credibility automatically from being brought in so early after the Olympics, and he was essentially the Japanese Funk brother for a while.
Yeah.
He was the little brother. He was always with them, and you could, even in wrestling, he had a similar wrestling style too.
Yeah, very similar to Dory Funk. Yeah. And Dory Funk. Yeah.
But he was actually he was a little bit taller than them.
Taller and heavier, yeah.
So it made him a little different too.
I mean, exceptionally big for a Japanese person.
He never moved in a strange or strained way, though. He was slower, but he was athletic.
Athletic, very athletic, yeah. And he knew when to do and when not to do moves. When he was young, he was throwing drop kicks, 2 or 3 drop kicks during the match. But later on, after he became a little older, he only did drop kick once a year, like big pop. Oh my God, he can still do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Jumping knee attack, fine. It's relatively easier, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the big guy like him, remember, Stan Hansen did the drop kick every now and then.
Sometimes,
Bruiser
yeah.
Brody, Bruiser Brody had the mean drop kick, but didn't do it too often. People like a little bit later on, Vader had mean drop kicks, right? And in Japan, drop kick is a really favorite move, you know.
Fundamental. You have to have a good drop kick. It's really you're judged on that by a lot of fans.
You're a professional wrestler. Yeah.
You hear people at Korakuen Hall, the hardcore fans will complain. You know, they say, "Oh, you didn't do it the right way. Do it the other way."
I guess the fans in Tokyo are so educated and you know have so much information and well-read people, you know,
and they are very demanding in a good way.
Very demanding, yeah, very demanding. That's right. Oh, and a little bit off the subject, but in mid '80s into in the late '80s, that Keiji Muto was saying he hated working in Korakuen.
Really?
You know. Yeah, because he hated the people's reaction at Korakuen. If you mismove something and people laugh, you know, you can hear it from the ring.
Yeah. It's not a big place like we were talking about. You hear it, and I remember going to a lot of big Japan shows, and there were always 4 or 5 of the same older fellows who would be in the rafters, the cheaper tickets area in the corner.
Oh, they're like critics almost.
Yeah, like every show. But they support everybody. They just switch between.
Love it.
Sometimes they support one. They tend, in my memory, these guys that I'm remembering really liked the older generation and they didn't like a wrestler like Hashimoto Daiichi, who was coming up, new guy. They wanted an older wrestler like Takaiwa.
He hasn't proven anything.
Show him, teach him.
Yeah.
Do it harder.
But all these people still had this different level of suspending your disbelief thing, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah. I mean, like prove to me kind of thing.
Yes.
How good you are. Yeah.
And I think that...
But some wrestlers didn't like it, you know?
Yeah. It's a different style.
Some guys didn't care. But the Jumbo and Tenryu was always like, okay, I'll show you. You know?
Yeah.
Above that critics.
Yeah, because they were real athletes. They didn't have to hide behind anything or any gimmicks or routines.
Become kiss-ass type wrestler.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So that's like being convincing wrestler is very important in Japan. Probably anywhere in the world. Yeah,
different standards, but especially in Japan at this time, it was still viewed as a sport.
Yeah, not your today's WWE universe.
No entertainment, no angles, or anything more than talking.
We have to point out that today's New Japan fans, today's New Japan world, we should call it. Today's New Japan world is so much like WWE universe, though.
It's very much kind of insulated, and a lot of new and casual fans that are coming to the product.
And also, they just think it's work, you know, and it's nothing more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think
I still think it's a lot more than or above just work. You know, I still believe in wrestlers wrestling, you know, and the real ability and the real emotions. You can't fake those things.
No, and people like Jumbo is one of those wrestlers who he never came off as phony or insincere or like a character. It was him. It's just him.
And people like Misawa, Kawada, Kobashi carried that part on, right? Yeah.
It doesn't insult your
all these guys are much younger than Jumbo, but now Misawa's gone. Kawada, Kobashi both retired. My God, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, those eras are gone too.
They're gone. They're gone.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah. But now that we have YouTube, you have old videos that all these things that I'm hoping that today's fan will go back and kind of study Jumbo's era's wrestling from Japanese tapes. This kind of wrestling exists. It's very convincing that will change your perception of what wrestling is or what wrestling should be. You know what I'm saying? It's not just pure entertainment. It's something you can believe in. And I do.
And watching those YouTube videos, I say not just watch the wrestler, don't just watch Jumbo, but watch the crowd and watch how they reacted. I think it's so crazy that people like to say...
What's so funny, you know, the old videos you see on YouTube, Korakuen Hall looks much bigger.
Yeah, it was shot
in that
like
video.
That.
Yeah. I think they used to put more people in there. Then in late 80s into 90s, that the fire marshal, really cleaned up. You can't put that many people in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How much? Like 2,000?
Actually 1,700.
Okay.
That's it.
So it's really not
They
that
used
big.
but they used to pack 25 to 3,000 people in there.
That's crazy though. Because when it's sold out, it's packed.
Yeah, and then how are you going to escape when you really have fire or something?
It's on the 5th floor.
Yeah, of the building.
That's scary. And it's a really small elevator. It's just, a normal elevator. It's a regular kind of building. It's next to a TGI Fridays. It's like kind of...
Yeah. Actually, the TGI Fridays is the first floor of the building. And second floor is a Chinese restaurant, And and then third, fourth, fifth is treated as, Korakuen Hall. But it's just a building. Yeah. Nippon TV actually owns it,
Is that true?
Yeah. And also the company called Tokyo Dome owns it.
Like Tokyo Dome City property.
Yeah, it's a whole complex is owned by that group.
Yeah, I guess for people that don't know, the Tokyo Dome is not just the arena, but it's kind of like area where there's a lot of games and
the Korakuen theme park.
Theme park and baseball.
Prism Hall.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like recreation.
Restaurant and Tokyo Dome Hotel. Yeah, the whole complex.
Sizzler.
Yeah, Sizzler, that too. I go there all the time. I mean, like when you after, it's a useless trivia, but after Korakuen Hall show, if you go to Sizzlers, you run into wrestlers and their family.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That's a culture, right?
That is, yeah, because it's Tokyo. It's wrestling mecca in a lot of ways.
I guess so.
Well, it's so condensed and there's so much wrestling. Like you told me once that you said there's over 100 independent promotions just in Tokyo.
Yeah, just in Tokyo. The ones who have website and their own name and a phone. Yeah. Some of them are like an office, somebody's house or something, somebody's apartment, but still wrestling group. Whomever ran wrestling one time or another running it. So it's like over 100 group now. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
But that only made bigger company bigger and smaller company smaller.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Much like your economy, richer people became richer and poor people became poor or something. Not that good, but you know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But
even you are, you started as Kota Ibushi and Kenny Omega as a perfect example. They started with DDT, right? And they were discovered by New Japan and got signed away with real lucrative contract and became New Japan superstar. So that method didn't happen in Jumbo and Tenru Fujinami Choshu era.
No, it wasn't.
Two big company, and you may go back and forth a little bit, but only top stars.
Yeah, it was just a different. Of course, it was a different time, but the way the information traveled was way slower, much slower.
Oh, it was. Yeah, we have to add that this was before internet era, right?
So
or any live streaming on your computer screen.
And a match in January and a match in July felt like forever between them. Summer Action Series and the tag things at the end of the year, it felt much farther away.
Oh yeah, it was slower, I guess. Yeah,
and now it's faster.
And, Inoki's New Japan and Baba's All Japan, they both had network channel contract.
Yes.
Nippon TV Channel 4 or Channel 5 TV Asahi. Those are like a major league of wrestling. Then there was the UWF, who were going to change wrestling into legitimate contest. And the whole concept after UWF, the Fujiwara Gumi, the Akira Maeda's rings, the Funaki and Minoru Suzuki's pancreas, they all eventually became MMA, how you know as MMA today. That's very interesting, right? That's another subject for another day.
Yes.
But traditional wrestling, Giant Baba's All Japan, Antonio Inoki's New Japan still remain as a major league of professional wrestling. Funny thing is, though, New Japan Pro Wrestling exists today, but it has nothing to do with Antonio Inoki. And All Japan Pro Wrestling still exists with the same logo. It's not Giant Baba's company.
Yeah.
Or Mrs. Baba's company.
It's definitely the new generation of both companies. You know, time goes on.
In this whole industry, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, Jumbo is important figure of a time that won't come back. It's just he was on top.
Yeah, and hindsight is like it was really shocking that Giant Baba died, January of 1999. It was really shocking, right? Because he was working in the ring up until December of the following, the previous year, December of 1990, and then he got sick and then he pretty much died shortly. Then 1 year later, year 2000, Jumbo passed away.
Suddenly.
At the age of 49. So not suddenly, but yeah, he was so
relatively
private about his condition,
And Baba was too as well, is that correct?
I think so, yeah.
Didn't tell.
Because he was fine. He wasn't fine then, but he must have had a lot of pain, huh? But he was working in that ring until 1 month before his death, Yeah.
Very interesting times, but that pretty much does it with Jumbo Tsuruta. That was his career because
this is got something about All Japan. See, Giant Baba is gone, Jumbo Tsuruta's gone, Misawa's gone, or people like main referee Joe Higuchi or Okuma, the Koma, the Russia Kimura, all these key players are all dead.
Yeah.
Inoki's still well. I mean, still in hospital, but he's still around.
Fuchi,
New Japan
he's still around.
Fuchi, yeah, well, of course, he's like the last journeyman wrestler in this industry.
He's like a Bilbo Baggins from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I mean, he looks the same when you're 66.
And wrestles the same.
I think so. Yeah.
But Jumbo, he's a really important figure in understanding what All Japan is all about.
Yeah. So you have, bigger picture kind of understanding if you know more about Jumbo.
Yeah, especially the 80s and introducing the 90s generation army.
Or how to pass torch in that ring.
How to pass his torch in a natural, organic, and effective way. Really effective.
Yeah, and people believed in Misawa from that day on. Yes.
And they didn't even believe it if Jumbo beat him 2 months after. It was so strong.
People don't remember it.
They don't even remember because that's how effective the initial match was.
Yes. So Jumbo put him over clean, which was good. You got to do it every now and then.
I heard people were crying in the crowd.
Yeah. Oh, Misawa himself was crying in that ring.
That's amazing.
And Kawada and Kobashi, carrying Misawa on their shoulders, they were crying.
Wow. Not very emotional guys. I don't think I ever really see emotion.
No, they weren't. So it's like that's how believable the whole moment, the whole thing was.
And very meaningful too.
Yeah. So that kind of thing can take place in wrestling.
Yeah.
You're so involved. Yeah.
And invested in it. 100%.
I think so.
Yeah. So.
Oh, I'm happy I experienced it firsthand.
Yeah, I envy you for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So that was I guess that we covered pretty much all the ground.
Yeah, I think so. And I think if there's one match to watch, if there's not a person out there who is not familiar, I would watch the match that we were just talking about with Misawa and Jumbo Tsuruta from 1990, the first one.
Yeah, at the Budokan.
Yeah.
And also 3 previous single match, Jumbo against Tenryu, the important 3 single matches, that is must.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's going to wrap it for now. Let's wrap up. If fans want to reach you on Twitter or Facebook, how can they reach you, Fumi?
Yeah. On Twitter, it's Fumihiko Dayo, Fumihiko Fumihiko, or just Fumi Saito on Facebook.
And don't forget to send a message if you had a Facebook.
Yeah, because I want to know who you are.
Yeah, no strangers, no bots. Just introduce yourself like you would in person.
Yeah, and I'll respond. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm at Justin M Knipper, Knipper on Twitter. You can leave comments there or on the Patreon in our comments.
Yeah, we should take a lot more questions, huh?
Yeah, and we're covering a lot of topics from some fans who sent some requests in, and I think we've hit some of we've hit the Lucha Libre in Japan and Jumbo and Tenryu. So next time we'll come at you with a new surprise. But I guess for now,
until then, so long from Tokyo. Thank you.
You're very on top of it.